First contact gone wrong. The day Earth's skies darkened with the arrival of alien ships was supposed to be humanity's greatest moment. Instead, it became the catalyst for a series of events that would shake the foundations of the galaxy. Commander Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force stood on the roof of the New York Command Center, her eyes fixed on the looming silhouettes of the Zarkian vessels. The alien ships resembled massive iridescent jellyfish, pulsating with an otherworldly energy that made them seem alive. Status report. She barked into her comm unit, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. All defense systems are online, Commander, came the reply from her second-in-command, Major Tom Rivera. But we're still unable to penetrate their communication frequencies. It's like they're speaking in colors we can't see. Sarah frowned. The lack of communication was troubling. Every first contact scenario they had trained for emphasized the importance of clear dialogue. But the Zarkians had been silent since their arrival 3 days ago, their ships hovering ominously over major cities across the globe. Keep trying, she ordered. We need to establish contact before. Her words were cut short by a blinding flash of light. Sarah instinctively shielded her eyes, her heart racing. When she looked up again, her blood ran cold. A beam of energy was descending from the largest Zarkian ship, touching down in Central Park. All units, alert. She shouted into her comm. Unknown energy signature detected in Central Park. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. As Sarah raced down to the command center, chaos erupted across the city. Citizens panicked, fleeing their homes and offices. The wail of sirens filled the air, punctuated by the rhythmic thump of military helicopters scrambling to respond. Inside the command center, screens flickered with incoming data and live feeds from around the city. Sarah's eyes darted from one display to another, trying to make sense of the situation. Ma'am, a young lieutenant called out, her voice trembling. We're getting reports of people disappearing. Civilians near the energy beam are just vanishing. Sarah's mind raced. Abductions, an attack, or something else entirely. She had to make a decision, and fast. Major Rivera, I want a strike team ready in 5 minutes. We're going in. But Commander, Rivera protested, we don't know what that energy beam will do to our troops. Sarah met his gaze, her expression grim. And we won't know unless we try. Our people are disappearing, Tom. We have to act. As the strike team assembled, Sarah donned her advanced combat suit. The exoskeleton hummed to life, enhancing her strength and reflexes. She checked her weapon, a pulse rifle designed to adapt to various threat levels. Remember, she addressed her team, our priority is to establish contact and, if possible, retrieve our missing citizens. Use lethal force only as a last resort. We're making history today, people. Let's make it good history. The team deployed, using grappling hooks and jetpacks to navigate the chaotic streets. As they approached Central Park, the air grew thick with an otherworldly energy that made their skin tingle and their equipment malfunction. Sarah landed near the edge of the energy beam, her suit's sensors going haywire. The beam pulsed with a rhythm that seemed almost musical. She took a cautious step forward, her hand outstretched. Commander, wait. Rivera's voice crackled through the comm. But it was too late. The moment Sarah's hand touched the beam, her world exploded into a kaleidoscope of sensations. Colors she had never seen before danced across her vision. Sounds beyond human hearing filled her mind. And in an instant, she understood. The Zarkians weren't attacking. They were trying to communicate. Sarah's consciousness expanded, connecting with the alien hive mind. She saw their history, their culture, their desperate journey across the stars in search of a new home. And she realized the terrible misunderstanding that had occurred. The Zarkians communicated through a complex language of energy patterns and quantum entanglement. What humans perceived as an attack was actually a greeting, an attempt to uplift humanity to a level where true communication was possible. With great effort, Sarah pulled herself back from the alien consciousness. She stumbled away from the energy beam, gasping for air. "Stand down," she shouted to her team, who had their weapons trained on the beam. "They're not hostile. We need tow." Her words were drowned out by a deafening explosion. In the confusion and fear, someone had launched a missile at the Zarkian ship. Sarah watched in horror as the projectile streaked towards the alien vessel. But what happened next defied all expectations. The missile, designed to penetrate the toughest armor, simply disappeared. It vanished the moment it touched the ship's hull, as if it had never existed. The Zarkian response was immediate and terrifying. The ships above the city began to pulse with an intense energy. The air crackled with power, and Sarah felt her combat suit growing heavy, its systems failing. "Evacuate," she tried to order, but her comm was dead. Around her, buildings began to crumble as if gravity itself had turned against them. Cars were crushed flat, roads buckled and split. Yet, in the midst of this apocalyptic scene, Sarah noticed something extraordinary. While the alien energy was wreaking havoc on technology and infrastructure, humans seemed largely unaffected. People were running, helping others, displaying a resilience that defied the overwhelming alien power. Sarah fought against her failing exoskeleton, tearing it off piece by piece. Freed from the dead weight, she began coordinating rescue efforts, her voice rising above the chaos. To her amazement, people responded, organizing themselves with remarkable efficiency. As the dust settled and the alien energy subsided, Sarah stood amidst the rubble of what had once been a bustling city block. But instead of defeat, she felt a surge of pride and determination. Humanity had faced its first extraterrestrial challenge, and while the cost had been high, they had survived. The Zarkian ships still loomed overhead, but now they seemed less threatening and more expectant. Sarah realized that this had been a test, intentional or not, and humanity, with its unexpected resilience and adaptability, had passed. She looked up at the alien vessels, a fierce grin spreading across her face. "All right," she muttered, "round two. Let's show them what we're really made of." As emergency services mobilized and the government scrambled to respond, Sarah knew that everything had changed. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and they had just proven themselves to be far more formidable than anyone, human or alien, had anticipated. The age of Earth's isolation was over. The galaxy was watching, and humanity was ready to take its place among the stars. The galactic stage. 5 years after the tumultuous first contact with the Zarkians, Dr. Elias Kamav stood before the imposing doors of the Galactic Council chamber. The blue-skinned Andromean guard eyed him suspiciously, its tentacles twitching with barely concealed disdain. "State your business, Earthling," the guard growled, the universal translator struggling to convey the full contempt in its voice. Elias straightened his lab coat, acutely aware of how out of place he looked among the ornate alien architecture. "Dr. Elias Kamau, Earth's representative to the scientific cooperative. I'm here to present our findings on dark matter propulsion." The guard's eye stalks swiveled, consulting an unseen database. After a moment, it grudgingly stepped aside. "Proceed. But remember, you are here on sufferance. The Council's patience with your kind is not unlimited." As the massive doors swung open, Elias took a deep breath. The chamber beyond was a marvel of alien engineering, a vast amphitheater that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Representatives from 100 different species occupied floating platforms that orbited a central daze like planets around a star. Elias made his way to the small, unassuming platform assigned to Earth. He couldn't help but notice the stark contrast between the advanced technology surrounding him and the simple datapad he carried. Many of the alien representatives were interfacing directly with the chamber's systems through neural links or other incomprehensible means. The meeting began with the usual formalities, most of which went over Elias's head despite his translator's best efforts. He found his attention wandering to the incredible diversity of life forms around him. There were beings of pure energy, creatures that seemed to phase in and out of reality, and others so alien that his mind struggled to comprehend their form. Finally, after what felt like hours, the council moderator, a towering crystalline entity, announced, "We will now hear the Earth delegation's report on their dark matter propulsion research." A hush fell over the chamber as Elias stepped forward. He could feel the weight of 100 alien gazes upon him, most skeptical, some outright hostile. Earth's admission to the galactic community had been controversial, with many species arguing that humans were too primitive and volatile to be trusted with advanced technology. Elias cleared his throat. "Esteemed members of the Council, I stand before you today not just as a representative of Earth, but as a fellow seeker of knowledge. For centuries, my people dreamed of the stars, imagining countless worlds and civilizations. Now that we stand among you, our dreams have only grown larger." He activated his datapad, projecting a holographic model of the proposed dark matter drive. "What you see before you is not just a new method of propulsion. It is a testament to human ingenuity and our ability to adapt your teachings to our unique perspective." As Elias delved into the technical details of the drive, he noticed a shift in the atmosphere. The initial skepticism was giving way to curiosity, even grudging admiration. The human approach to dark matter manipulation was unorthodox, combining principles from a dozen different alien technologies in ways their original inventors had never considered. And by reversing the polarity of the quantum flux, Elias concluded, we can achieve faster than light travel without the massive energy requirements of traditional warp drives. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Elias held his breath, waiting for the response. The crystalline moderator's facets shimmered as it processed the information. "This is unexpected," the moderator said at last. "The Council will need time to verify these findings. If they prove accurate, it could revolutionize interstellar travel." A commotion erupted from one of the orbiting platforms. A Zarkian representative, its energy form pulsing with agitation, spoke up. "Honorable moderator, surely you cannot be considering giving the humans access to such technology. They are barely out of their Stone Age. The potential for misuse is too great." Other voices joined in, some in support of the Zarkians' concerns, others defending Earth's right to contribute to galactic science. The chamber descended into chaos, with arguments breaking out in a cacophony of alien languages. Elias stood firm, his heart pounding but his resolve unshaken. This was the moment that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. "Esteemed colleagues," he said, his voice cutting through the din, "I understand your concerns. Believe me, we share them. The power to reshape the very fabric of space-time is not something we take lightly." He paused, letting his words sink in. "But consider this. In the mere 5 years since we joined your community, we have not only mastered technologies that took other species centuries to develop, but we have found ways to improve upon them. We may be young, but our potential is limitless." The moderator's crystalline form vibrated, a sign of deep contemplation. "The human speaks truth," it said at last. "Their adaptability is remarkable. Perhaps it is time we reconsidered our assumptions about species development." A new wave of murmurs swept the chamber, but this time, the tone was different. There was a sense of excitement, of possibilities previously unconsidered. An avian creature with iridescent feathers spoke up. "I propose we establish a joint research initiative. Let the humans work alongside our best scientists. If their claims prove true, we all stand to benefit." Support for the idea grew quickly. Even some of the initially skeptical representatives were coming around, intrigued by the potential advancements. As the council moved to vote on the proposal, Elias felt a surge of pride. This was more than just a scientific breakthrough. It was a defining moment for humanity, a chance to prove their worth on the galactic stage. The vote was almost unanimous. Earth would lead a multi-species research team to develop the new propulsion system. As the council adjourned, Elias found himself surrounded by alien scientists, eager to discuss the project. A Zarkian approached, its energy form shimmering with what Elias had learned to recognize as embarrassment. Your species continues to surprise us, Dr. Kama. Perhaps we were hasty in our judgment. Elias smiled. We're full of surprises. It's kind of our thing. As he left the council chamber, Elias couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. Humanity had taken its first real steps into the galactic community, and the universe would never be the same. Little did he know, this was just the beginning. The true test of humanity's place among the stars was yet to come. Part 3. The Deathworld Challenge. The Galactic Explorers Guild Hall buzzed with excitement. Representatives from dozens of spacefaring races had gathered for the annual Extreme Environment Expedition, a prestigious event that pushed the boundaries of survivability in the harshest conditions the universe had to offer. Captain Zora Yoshida of the Earth Expeditionary Force stood apart from the crowd, her weathered face set in a mask of determination. At her side, her loyal companion and fellow explorer, the genetically enhanced canine Orion, sat alertly, his cybernetic eye scanning the alien throng. Quite the turnout this year, remarked Klix, a Volcran scientist whose gelatinous form shimmered with bioluminescent patterns. I hear the Guild has chosen a real nightmare for this expedition. A Class 12 death world, if you can believe it. Zara raised an eyebrow. Class 12. I didn't think there were any of those left unexplored. Klix's body rippled in what passed for a shrug among his species. Apparently, it was only recently discovered. The preliminary scans are, well, let's just say many are already withdrawing their applications. Before Zara could respond, a hush fell over the hall. The Guild Grandmaster, an ancient Archaean whose crystalline body held the wisdom of millennia, floated to the center of the room. Esteemed explorers, the Grandmaster's voice resonated telepathically in the minds of all present. This year's challenge will test you beyond anything you have faced before. Behold, Infernus Prime. A holographic image materialized, showing a hellish landscape of active volcanoes, acid lakes, and storm-racked skies. Data scrolled alongside the image, detailing atmospheric composition, gravity, and a host of other environmental factors that made survival seem impossible. Gasps and murmurs of disbelief rippled through the crowd. Several representatives immediately made their way to the exit, shaking their heads. The Grandmaster continued, "We seek a team of 5 to undertake a 3-day survival expedition on Infernus Prime. Your goal will be to reach the central peak and activate the Guild Beacon, proving your mastery over the planet's harsh conditions." Zara felt a surge of adrenaline. This was exactly the kind of challenge she lived for. She stepped forward, her voice ringing out clear and confident. "Earth volunteers for the expedition." A shocked silence fell over the hall, followed by a wave of incredulous laughter. A towering Cronin warrior, his exoskeleton gleaming. The Deathworld Challenge. A shocked silence fell over the hall, followed by a wave of incredulous laughter. A towering Cronin warrior, his exoskeleton gleaming, stepped forward. "Surely you jest, human. Your fragile species could never survive such conditions. Leave this to those of us evolved for true challenges." Zara met the Cronin's compound eyes without flinching. "With all due respect, we humans have a saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. We've been surviving against the odds since before we left our home planet." The Grandmaster's crystalline form shimmered, a sign of intrigue. The human speaks with conviction. "However, Captain Yoshida, you must understand that Infernus Prime is unlike anything your species has encountered. The atmospheric pressure alone would crush your bones." Zara nodded, a slight smile playing on her lips. "We've anticipated challenges like this. Grandmaster, with your permission, I'd like to introduce the rest of my team." At her signal, 4 figures stepped out from the crowd, each wearing what appeared to be sleek, form-fitting suits. "Meet humanity's answer to extreme environments," Zara announced. Dr. Amit Patel, our xenobiologist. Major Li Chen, survival expert. Dr. Fatima Al-Zahawi, geologist and atmospherics specialist. And lastly, Sergeant Jack O'Neill, our tech and communications expert. The team stood proudly, their suits glimmering with an otherworldly sheen. Dr. Patel stepped forward, addressing the curious onlookers. These are our adaptive environmental suits, or AES. They're a symbiosis of bioengineered organisms and advanced nanotechnology, capable of adapting to a wide range of extreme conditions. A ripple of excitement passed through the alien crowd. Such technology was unheard of, even among the most advanced races. The Grandmaster's voice echoed in their minds once more. Fascinating. But even with such impressive technology, the challenge remains immense. Are you certain you wish to volunteer? Zara looked at her team, seeing the same determination in their eyes that she felt. We're certain, Grandmaster. Humanity is ready to prove itself. After a moment of silent deliberation, the Grandmaster announced, Very well. The Earth team is accepted for the Infernus Prime expedition. Prepare yourselves. You depart in 3 solar cycles. As the crowd dispersed, a mix of excitement and skepticism buzzing in the air, Zara and her team huddled together. All right, folks, she said, her voice low and serious. We've talked about this. We've trained for this. But the real thing is going to be unlike anything we've faced before. Any second thoughts? Jack grinned, his Irish accent thick with excitement. Are you kiddin', Cap? This is what we signed up for. Those aliens won't know what hit 'em when they see what humans can do. Fatima nodded, her dark eyes sparkling with determination. We've come too far to back down now. The whole galaxy is watching. It's time to show them what Earth is made of. The next 3 days were a whirlwind of final preparations. The team ran simulations, fine-tuned their AES suits, and studied every scrap of data available on Infernus Prime. Finally, the day of departure arrived. As they boarded the Guild transport ship, a crowd of aliens had gathered to see them off. Some looked curious, others skeptical, and a few seemed genuinely concerned for the human safety. The journey to Infernus Prime took several hours through hyperspace. As they approached the planet, its hellish visage filled the ship's view screen. Rivers of lava crisscrossed the blackened surface, while massive lightning storms raged in the toxic atmosphere. Bloody hell, Jack whispered, his usual bravado momentarily shaken. It's like someone took all the worst parts of Earth and cranked them up to 11. Amit studied the readings on his datapad, his brow furrowed. The conditions are even more extreme than we anticipated. The AES suits will be pushed to their limits. Zara took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. Remember your training. We adapt, we overcome. That's the human way. As the ship entered the atmosphere, the entire vessel shuddered violently. Alarms blared as the environmental system struggled to compensate for the extreme conditions. This is as far as we can take you. The Guild pilot's strained voice came over the intercom. You'll have to drop the rest of the way. May fortune favor you, humans. The team did one final check of their equipment before moving to the drop bay. The AES suits were already adjusting, their surface rippling as they prepared to face the hostile environment. 3 days to reach the central peak. Lai reminded them. Every second counts. Stay alert, stay alive. With a hiss, the drop bay doors opened, revealing the nightmarish landscape below. Wind howled, carrying acidic fumes and superheated particles. In the distance, a mountain loomed, its peak obscured by roiling clouds. Zora looked at her team, saw the mix of fear and determination in their eyes, and felt a surge of pride. For Earth, she said simply. For Earth, they echoed. And with that, they leaped into the unknown, plummeting towards the surface of Infernus Prime. As they fell, their suits transformed, sprouting wing-like structures to control their descent. They landed hard on a plain of blackened, cracked earth, the ground still hot from recent lava flows. Zara did a quick check of her team. Sound off. Everyone okay? One by one, they confirmed their status. The AES suits had performed flawlessly so far, protecting them from the crushing pressure and caustic atmosphere. "Right," Zora said, her voice filled with grim determination. "Let's show the galaxy what humans can do." As they set off towards the distant peak, none of them noticed the small drone that detached from the departing guild ship. All across the galaxy, billions of beings from thousands of species tuned in to watch the humans face the ultimate survival challenge. Little did the team know, their performance on Infernus Prime would change the course of galactic history forever. Diplomatic tensions and technological leap. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council was in an uproar. Delegates from 100 different species argued vehemently, their translators struggling to keep up with the cacophony of alien languages. At the center of the storm stood Ambassador Elena Rodriguez, Earth's representative to the Council, her face a mask of calm determination despite the chaos surrounding her. "Order. We will have order," boomed the voice of High Counselor Zixthera, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate crystalline shell. The din gradually subsided, though tension still crackled in the air like static electricity. Elena stepped forward, her voice clear and unwavering. "Esteemed members of the Council, I understand your concerns, but I assure you, Earth has no intention of destabilizing the galactic economy or upsetting the balance of power." A Volcran delegate, its gelatinous form rippling with agitation, spoke up. "How can we believe that when your so-called synthesis engines threaten to render half our trade agreements obsolete? You've barely been part of the galactic community for a decade, and already you seek to upend millennia of established order." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. Elena had expected this reaction, but the vehemence still took her aback. The synthesis engines, Earth's latest technological marvel, were capable of reorganizing matter at the atomic level, essentially allowing for the creation of any material or compound from base elements. It was a game changer, and not everyone was happy about it. "The synthesis engines are not a weapon or a threat," Elena countered. "They're a tool, one that could help solve resource scarcity across the galaxy. We're offering to share this technology, to work together for the benefit of all species." "And who would control this technology?" demanded Crix, the Zarkian representative. "We've seen how quickly humans advance. How long before you use this power to dominate us all?" Before Elena could respond, an alarm blared throughout the chamber. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing a massive fleet of ships emerging from hyperspace at the edge of the system. High Counselor Zixthera's voice cut through the renewed chaos. "We are under attack. The swarm has returned." Fear rippled through the assembly. The swarm, a hive-mind species of insectoid aliens, had been a menace to the galaxy for centuries, appearing seemingly at random to strip entire worlds bare before disappearing again. No one had found a reliable way to combat them. As the Council erupted into panic, Elena's comm unit buzzed. It was a priority message from Earth. She listened intently, her eyes widening. "High Counselor," she called out, her voice cutting through the din. "Earth offers its assistance. We have a weapon that may be effective against the swarm." All eyes turned to her, a mix of hope and suspicion on alien faces. "What kind of weapon?" Zixthera asked cautiously. Elena took a deep breath. "We call it the Nexus Array. It's easier to show you." With a few quick commands on her datapad, Elena brought up a holographic display of Earth's secret weapon. It looked like a massive satellite dish, but instead of a single receiver, it had thousands of smaller arrays, all interconnected in a complex web. "The Nexus Array taps into the quantum field that the swarm uses for its hive-mind communication," Elena explained. "We believe we can use it to disrupt their coordination, essentially severing their connection to each other." Stunned silence fell over the council chamber. The implications were staggering. Crix, the Zarkian, was the first to speak. How is this possible? We've studied the swarm for centuries and never came close to understanding their communication methods." Elena allowed herself a small smile. "Let's just say humans have a knack for thinking outside the box. Our scientists combined principles from a dozen different alien technologies, added a few insights of our own. And, well, here we are. High Counselor Zixthera's crystalline form shimmered with what Alina had learned to recognize as deep contemplation. This is most unexpected, but we have little time. The swarm will reach the outer colonies within hours. Can your weapon be deployed in time? Alina nodded. We anticipated this possibility. A prototype Nexus array is already en route, escorted by our fastest ships. It should arrive just ahead of the swarm. The next few hours were a blur of activity. The council chamber transformed into a war room, with representatives from every species offering whatever assistance they could. Alina found herself at the center of it all, coordinating between Earth's forces and the hastily assembled galactic fleet. As the swarm entered the system, a tense hush fell over the chamber. All eyes were fixed on the holographic displays showing the approaching horde of bioships. Nexus array in position. Came the report from the Earth vessel. Powering up now. Alina held her breath, along with every other being in the room. This was the moment of truth. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The swarm continued its inexorable advance. Then, suddenly, the front line of bioships began to falter. They broke formation, some spinning aimlessly, others colliding with each other. It's working. Someone shouted, and a cheer went up from the assembled delegates. The Nexus array continued its work, sending waves of quantum disruption through the swarm fleet. Within minutes, the once coordinated attack had devolved into chaos. The galactic fleet moved in, easily picking off the confused and disoriented swarm ships. As the last of the swarm vessels were destroyed or driven off, a new atmosphere settled over the council chamber. The aliens looked at Alina and the other human representatives with a mixture of awe, gratitude, and not a little fear. High Counselor Zixthera floated over to Alina, its crystalline form glowing with an inner light. Ambassador Rodriguez, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I extend our deepest thanks. You have saved countless lives today. Alina bowed her head respectfully. We're glad we could help, High Counselor. Earth stands ready to assist the galaxy in any way we can. As the council session adjourned, Alina couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. The galaxy had seen what humanity was truly capable of. The balance of power had shifted, and Earth was now at the center of it all. But as she looked around at the alien faces, some grateful, some wary, some calculating, Alina knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity had proven its worth, but with great power comes great responsibility. The real challenge was just beginning. Humanity's triumph. The vast amphitheater of Unity Station hummed with anticipation. Representatives from every known spacefaring race had gathered for what promised to be a pivotal moment in galactic history. At the center of it all stood Dr. Arya Khan, Earth's leading expert in xenobiology and the architect of Project Harmony. As Arya approached the podium, she couldn't help but marvel at how far humanity had come in just a few short decades. From their tumultuous first contact to becoming key players in galactic affairs, humans had defied every expectation. Distinguished delegates, Arya began, her voice steady despite her nerves. Today, we stand on the precipice of a new era. Project Harmony represents not just the pinnacle of human innovation, but the culmination of galactic cooperation. She gestured, and a holographic display sprang to life behind her. It showed a complex network of interconnected spheres, each pulsing with a different color. For too long, our differences have divided us. Arya continued. Language barriers, incompatible physiologies, conflicting cultural norms. These challenges have hindered true understanding between species. Project Harmony aims to change that. As Arya explained the intricacies of the project, a mix of awe and skepticism rippled through the audience. Project Harmony was audacious in its scope. A galaxy-wide network of quantum-entangled nodes that would allow for instantaneous, perfect translation and even limited empathic connection between different species. Imagine, Arya said, her eyes shining with passion, A galaxy where misunderstandings born of language or cultural differences are a thing of the past, where we can truly walk in each other's shoes, or tentacles or energy fields. As she spoke, Arya could see the impact her words were having. Even the most skeptical delegates leaned forward, intrigued by the possibilities. But not everyone was convinced. Zexterra, the Arcturian ambassador, rose to speak. Dr. Khan, while your vision is admirable, it also raises concerns. Such a network could be used for more than just communication. In the wrong hands, it could become a tool for unprecedented surveillance or even mind control. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Arya had anticipated this objection. Your concern is valid, Ambassador, she acknowledged. That's why Project Harmony has been designed with safeguards at every level. The system is decentralized, with no single point of control. Moreover, participation is entirely voluntary and can be terminated at any time by the individual user. She paused, letting her words sink in. But more importantly, Project Harmony is built on trust. The same trust that has allowed us to overcome our differences and work together in the face of galactic threats. The same trust that has led to unprecedented peace and prosperity across known space. As the debate continued, tensions rose. The stakes were enormous, and not everyone was ready to take such a monumental leap. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the station. The holographic displays flickered, showing a massive anomaly forming at the edge of the system. Impossible, gasped a Zarkian scientist. It's a Class X dimensional rift. Panic erupted in the amphitheater. Class X rifts were the stuff of theoretical nightmares. Tears in the fabric of space-time that could potentially swallow entire star systems. As chaos threatened to overtake the assembly, a calm voice cut through the din. Everyone, please remain calm. We've prepared for this. All eyes turned to Admiral Jack O'Neill, the grizzled veteran of 100 battles and Earth's military liaison to the galactic community. He strode to the center of the room, his weathered face set in a mask of determination. Dr. Khan, he said, turning to Arya, I believe this is where Project Harmony gets its trial by fire. Arya's eyes widened as she realized what he was suggesting. But sir, it hasn't been fully tested. The risks are less than doing nothing, O'Neill finished. This station houses the brightest minds in the galaxy. If we work together, we might just have a chance. What followed was a flurry of activity unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Through the prototype Harmony Network, scientists from 100 different species collaborated in real time, their minds linked in a way that transcended ordinary communication. Arya found herself at the heart of it all, coordinating the efforts of this unprecedented think tank. Ideas flowed like lightning, each insight building on the last. Theories of dimensional physics that would have taken years to develop were formulated in minutes. As the rift grew, threatening to engulf the entire system, a plan took shape. Using a combination of technologies from a dozen different species, augmented by human ingenuity, they created a device that could potentially close the rift. The next few hours were a blur of frantic activity. Every ship in the system was mobilized, working together to construct and deploy the massive device. As it activated, a beam of energy more powerful than 1,000 suns lanced out, striking the heart of the rift. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly at first, but with gathering speed, the rift began to close. Cheers erupted throughout the station as the anomaly shrank and finally winked out of existence. In the aftermath, as the dust settled and the full impact of what had transpired sank in, a profound silence fell over the assembly. It was Zexterra, the once skeptical Arcturian ambassador, who broke the silence. Dr. Khan, he said, his voice filled with awe. I believe we owe you and your species an apology. Today, you have not only saved us all, but shown us the true potential of unity. Arya, exhausted but elated, managed a smile. This wasn't just a human achievement, Ambassador. This was all of us working together. This is what Project Harmony was always meant to be. As she looked around the room, Aria saw newfound respect and admiration in the eyes of the gathered delegates. Humanity had proven itself not just as equals, but as leaders in the galactic community. In that moment, Aria knew that a new chapter in galactic history had begun. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged triumphant, not through force or dominance, but through cooperation, innovation, and an unshakable belief in the power of unity. As the assembly erupted into applause, Aria couldn't help but think of how far they'd come. From a single planet, isolated and alone, to key players in a vast, interstellar civilization. The future, she realized, was brighter than they had ever imagined, and it was a future they would face together as one united galaxy.